Another check. Yo, guys. So writing a script for a movie can be very hard and frustrating, especially when you run out of ideas to write about, or you can't visualize certain scenes because you're not feeling it or you're not inspired. But there are other ways to get past this kind of writer's block. So, in terms of coming up with new and interesting scenes that we can potentially use for our film, art, and our movies, I find that, you know, and I think everybody knows this, but when you can really get inspiration from all over the place. You can get it from music, you can get it from books, from everything that's around us. It inspires us in some way, if we're open to it. But what I want to talk about today is the usage of poetry to help us get inspired. Now, sometimes storyboarding can make the images you create for them too simple. They're more for the progression of a story and to show what the character does next. Sometimes we look to music and all the millions of emanations that come from it. We can feel things. We imagine ideas in our heads when we listen to music. But poetry is an interesting art form because when we write poetry, we're working in visual metaphors. And what's fortunate about that, or what benefits us from that, is that movies, I mean, that's the language of movies. We're writing for movies, so we want to convey ideas through visual metaphor. Because I think at the end of the day, too much dialogue can be boring. And it's a visual medium. And what we want to see is we want to feel things through the images, through the moving images. So when we write poetry, we're doing a few things that really help with the process. One is that we're condensing a lot of ideas and a lot of feelings into this core kind of essence of the tone of the story and what we are feeling. So in and of itself, it's already really good for things like script writing or just kind of conveying the idea in the most economical kind of way. And this is important for many reasons, but mostly because in film, what we don't want is a lot of fat on the script. We want to really keep it slim, and we want to keep it essential to what we're trying to say. This is because we don't want to bore the audience, or we don't want to just kind of meander around and not really say anything with our images. Now, personally, I like to kind of work with freeform poetry because I find that it's more easy to kind of play around with it. There's no rules really. You could probably try other styles of poetry, but freeform seems to work the best because it relates really closely with prose. When you write prose, you can be very descriptive with it. But poetry, again, back to the idea of using visual metaphors, is really how we comprehend films. If you look at a lot of the silent films, or films from the silent era, they primarily only use images, and we have to understand what's going on just based off that. Another interesting thing is that not only does it give you the visual ideas, but it also can support you in the editing process, as it comes with like a natural rhythm. When you write something, you have a certain you have a rhythm that you're writing in, and if you are attentive and you pay attention to that rhythm, you can really translate it over to the editing process because it allows you to focus in on one thing. You can allow the editing process to take its time with whatever you're explaining, or it can feel very cut up. If you're using lots of sentences, it can feel very frenetic and very quick. So a lot of the poetry that you make can help in a lot of different ways, and it's very useful. So yeah, if you're not really feeling like storyboarding one day, or you can't paint, you can't draw your thoughts, or you're none of the music you're listening to is really helping, then I would recommend you try some poetry. It's a very interesting kind of experiment to try, and if you've never done it, you might actually really like it. All art forms are kind of interrelated, and they kind of are connected in a very strange and low-key way. It's not necessarily that if you learn one art form you can do the other, but rather it informs you on how certain there's similar patterns in art in terms of how you compose something. A composition of a painting can influence a composition of a piece of music. I think at the end of the day, when we are making art, we want to make something that's pure and genuine, and that kind of we want to remove all the distraction from what we're really trying to say, what we're trying to express. And Ridley Scott said something very interesting, where he mentioned that if you can tell a story in 30 seconds or a minute, then and it tells it well, then everything else after that is enlargement. And I think that's true, because at the end of the day, stories are not actually that complicated, and it's the details that kind of make them longer, and we want to understand why this happened or why that happened. But there's always just a beginning, middle, and end, and if we can clearly express those in the shortest way, then we can grasp the essence of what we're trying to say, and work from there, and push it to something maybe a little more complex. So as you can tell by the golden light, the day is ending, and this is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I just wanted to share some ideas with you guys, just because in the process of writing my own script, I come against these kind of issues, and I think if we share these kind of ideas, we can help each other get through them easier, and kind of get these films made, because I'm just really disappointed in the stuff I see nowadays in Hollywood or whatever. But I'll see you guys in the next video, and have a good one.